Hi, Sean.
Good afternoon.
If you
Hi,
could just
John, I'm Jake Purrill.
Hey, Jake, Sean, Alan. I'll just come around real
Yeah.
quick and then you guys all get up.
Jim
Jim?
Paul Abraham.
Paul, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
So this is a public meeting, that's why we're recording it. I know it's a little unique for all of us here, but it is public. And we're here for the fire chief position, and you are Sean Allen. And the way this process goes is we just have a list of standard questions that we're asking every candidate that we're interviewing. And we're just going to go around the table, ask you questions. We'll be taking notes, forgive us if we're looking down while you're talking. We are finishing interviews tomorrow, and then from there, the board and Monica and myself are on the board of trustees for the township. We, as a board, have asked to send a number of applicants that we'll choose to MCO Assessment Center. I don't know if you're familiar with MCO.
Very.
Okay, and so we will be notifying every candidate, where we stand after tomorrow. And based on scheduling of MCO, December 11th is our date that we expect to send applicants in. There will be an orientation 2 weeks prior to that, so we'll definitely be in correspondence with the applicants that we're sending. But that's the process moving forward after today. And other than that, we're interested in, just be as comfortable as you can, and we're just, want to learn a little more about you. But if you could go ahead, Jake.
Okay. Sean, tell us a little bit about yourself, your family's hobbies, and what's going on right now with yourself.
Sean Allen, I'm married for, come up to my 26th year right now, so our anniversary's coming up. I have 3 children. One lives out in Ann Arbor. I have a son that's a sophomore at Penn State right now in the Smil School of Business, and I have a daughter who is a sophomore at Henry Ford High. She's a volleyball player, really good volleyball player, so we unfortunately are on a competitive circuit, which do a lot of travel all around everywhere, it seems like. So it seems like huge part of my life right now is volleyball. I love to watch volleyball. It's pretty cool. I live in Sterling Heights. I've been there for 27 years, actually 28 years now. I've been with the city of Sterling Heights for 28 years. I started off as a firefighter riding backwards like everybody else there, and moved through the ranks where right now I'm presently the assistant chief. So started as a firefighter, became a driver, a lieutenant on the engine, then moved over to the 40-hour side after 20 years of being in suppression. I took a training officer position at that time. And then from training officer, after a couple of years there, I made a lateral move to be a fire inspector. Was a fire inspector for about 3 years, was promoted to being the fire marshal, and then after 3 years as a marshal, I was promoted to the assistant chief, where I'm presently at. As far as hobbies go, I'll tell you, I like to go up north. We used to have a place up there, sold it a couple years ago, working on trying to find another place. I like to hunt as much as I can, but it doesn't seem like I have as much time as I used to, and spend a lot of time on the lake.
Are you willing to move within 20 miles of Armada Township if you're not already?
I already live within 20 miles. Okay. Yep. So I'm at basically Clinton River and Shaner, which I believe makes it right to the border.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Sean, do you have any issues with the salary?
So I would want to be at the higher end of the salary. So I wouldn't probably take a 70, but if it was at the higher end of what you guys posted, then I would be willing to look at that, yes.
Have you worked in a position that required you to report to a municipal board?
I have not. So I report to our council. So it's not really, it's the city council.
It's
who I
yeah,
report
that's
to.
a
Yeah.
municipal
So
board.
it's a little different than townships, city councils. I report to my chief or the city manager, but council obviously has my phone number and calls me when they feel necessary to talk to me. sometimes a lot more than probably they should, but yes, I'm pretty well, I do have to report to them. Yep.
Our taxpayers approved the millage to fund long-term assessment replacement plan. What are your thoughts on how far in advance this type of plan should be done?
So, when you talk about replacement, you're probably talking about apparatus most likely, right? And apparatus is crazy right now. The cost increases are astronomical, right? As far as I'm concerned, myself alone, I've spec'd out 2 ambulances to just finish my 3rd, where my last ambulance was $280,000 that we paid for last year. This year's is $335,000. Next year's is probably going to be $350,000. Engines went from $600,000 to right now, they're probably $900,000 with the 3-year wait. So a sinking fund would probably have to go out probably 10 years. I mean, I know this is a smaller department where you're probably not talking buying a lot of apparatus, but it still costs the same if I buy it or, if it's bought here, if it's bought there. So, to spec out an engine right now would be a $900,000+ if you wanted to spec it, and then it's 3 years away to get it. So, I mean, just to buy something, you'd have to be really proactive to know that if you're putting on the miles, or if you're gone past your 15-year life, the recommendation of NFPA is around 10 years and then 5 years to a backup service. It's not a hard and fast rule. You're allowed to tweak that if you got good maintenance and it's being taken care of. So I have apparatus that's 25 years old right now. It's got 220,000 miles on it. It's struggling, but that's some of our backup equipment that I work with right now.
So you have direct involvement with those type of plans?
All day, yeah. Everything that, unfortunately, the way we are set up, everything that happens right now in the city kind of goes through me. So yes, as far as pre-planning or figuring out your any type of long-term planning, yes, I'm definitely involved in that. But I think to look at anything, you could pretty much, if you're investing into a sinking fund, you probably should be planning 10 years out for that.
Thank you. What is your experience working within and being responsible for a budget?
So my budget's a little over $25 million right now. It is mostly spoken for, so wages, hours takes a huge chunk out of ours. So there's not a lot that really I have to, I don't want to say play with, but that, as far as what I'm delegated with, it's probably about $300,000. After everything's all said and done, I'm looking at $300,000 to figure out furniture, equipment, any type of additions, change, anything that breaks or something like that, buying turnout gear. That's not, that's just a piece here, a piece there. Most of my large ticket items will come out of our capital budget, and so they plan for that, and that's actually something I'm going through right now, is we're planning capital for the next fiscal 24-25 year, which is the big ticket items. So when you're talking about our engines, our ambulances, hose, any of that stuff, that's, those are, that's how our budget works. I know yours is a little bit different, but as far as the budget, yeah, I'm giving it, and I have, basically there's a line item that I gotta stay within, so that's not a problem for me.
Thank you.
Okay, as fire chief, which duties and responsibilities would you find the most challenging to handle?
So staffing is a huge issue for everybody across the board. There's no question about it. Making sure you have enough people that are going to be on duty, that you're allowed, you have enough people, and still allowing some people to take off and have a quality of life. That's the largest part of I think any administrative problem right now, is making sure that you have good people who want to come to work, love their job, want to be here. So those are, I think, the hardest part. I think if you got a good group of people that truly want to be in the fire service and they're here for the right reasons, it's a lot of fun, and it's pretty easy after that.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
How do you go about ensuring that?
As far as ensuring that you get,
Yeah.
well, that's a different topic. it's always good to have a probationary period when you bring somebody on to make sure that they're gonna be a good fit. Not, I mean, somebody who wants to be a firefighter doesn't necessarily, they wanna be at a really, really fast place or a really, really slow place. I mean, it depends on, what they're looking for, and, what you see on TV is not what you get in real life. So some people might, have a different type of expectation of what they have. So a 1-year probationary period is great, so that way they can evaluate if they're happy where they are, and you can evaluate if they're gonna be a good fit for your organization.
If you are having difficulties with an issue that has strong opposing views from your staff, what would your approach be for resolving the issue?
I guess it really, it's gonna depend on the issue. Some things are, if you're looking to violate a federal, state, or local ordinance, then there's no way you can allow that. So, if it's the color of your engines versus, or the type of your uniforms, there's a lot of give and take with your membership to be, you want them to be happy, but then again, the fire service is very steeped in tradition. So somebody who's been here for, I've been in it for 32 years now, 28 with, in Sterling, then the other 3 years over in, or almost 4 years in Taylor before I came to Sterling. I've kind of got a pretty understanding of the tradition that we have in the fire service, so I still believe in it, even though there has to be changes in the fire service, because there's changes in just everyday life. So some traditions are good, some of them are antiquated and need to be changed. So I definitely would listen to both sides of the issue, and if it's something that really wasn't going to be, I'm pretty flexible when it comes to a lot of things that are not a hard line against the law type thing. I mean, I'll listen to the younger guys if they want to, change their T-shirts, or they want to wear station T-shirts versus some, and I'll tell you, I was able to really relax a lot during when COVID hit, because we had some pretty hard and fast rules, and then when that came around, we were forced to kind of look how we were doing things and make some changes for the better.
What is your experience with regards to unions and collective bargaining? So as you were coming up through the ranks, were you involved with the union at all?
So I'm in the union. Yep, for sure. Still am. I'm a big believer of the union. I think it definitely has a great place in the fire service for the working conditions and wages and hours. I was never a steward with our executive board. I work very closely with them. Don't always agree with them. If you contacted my executive board right now, even though I am still on, I'm in the union, we don't always agree eye to eye on some of the things that have to happen. So how it works right now is that obviously my fire chief has the ultimate decision, but he is going to rely on me for some of my past experiences just to give him an honest answer, and I'm going to give him the honest answer. So I believe that it's the union has definitely a very good place with the fire service, especially for the safety of the firefighters with cancer awareness, cancer presumption law, the hours that they work, all the safety mechanisms that have been put in place. I'm a huge believer, and in all honesty, I've gotten where I have been from the union, so I do give them the gratitude that they would definitely deserve for just, for getting where I've gotten to get to.
As the new chief, define what type of relationship you would foster with your subordinates.
So I know there's not a huge group of people here. I mean, I think we have I think it was 13. If I was correct, I think they said 13 full-time guys and a handful of part-paid right now. So it depends really on what the board's looking for, as far as if you're looking for an operational chief or you're looking for administrative chief. I mean, coming up into a new area, I do know a handful of people here in the department, but it really depends on what you're looking for in a chief, is how I would basically be stepping in. If you're good with how they're working operationally and their command staff is in good shape and they don't need me to respond to fires, then I'm going to let them do their thing. If it's something that you require the chief to respond to fires and take command, then that's the job I'll take, which I have no problem doing either or. Right now, I'm kind of stuck in the middle where I'm at. I do respond to fires pretty regularly. Most of the time, I don't take command. They appoint me as a safety officer because my battalion chiefs do a great job running their fires. So they don't need me to be operational. It's going to really fall on what the department wants from your chief. If you're looking for a guy who's crunching the numbers and making sure that everybody gets paid and the apparatus is there, then that's the job I'll take on.
Thank you.
What if we need a little bit of both?
Then I'll do a little bit of both. I mean, that's what I'm doing now. So, I've been involved in technical rescue for almost 20 years now. I'm a member of the Michigan Task Force 1. I've been deployed to 3 hurricanes. I teach structural collapse for the state. I am very active as far as that goes. We are actually just sent out by the county for the issue that they had down at East Point. So our technical rescue team had to make entry into a sewer system. So I am very hands-on when it comes to all this stuff. I'm a technician as far as collapse rescue, confined space, water rescue as far as surface water. I'm a boat operator, rope operations. I'm the safety officer for the state when it comes to the task force. So I'm very hands-on-y, I guess you could say, for any of that stuff. One of my passions is technical rescue. I'm also a hazmat tech. So I've kind of done all that stuff. It just depends on the role you're looking for. I still do a lot of teaching for the state. I'm teaching a class this evening for another community that I'm traveling quite a distance for. So it really depends on what you're looking for your chief is what I'll be able to provide. So I don't think Armada has 1 or 2 people on the tech rescue team right now. I don't think that's a huge presence though for that, but that's something that's very important, I think.
Thank you.
Okay, what are the 3 most important qualities a fire chief should possess?
So you got to have compassion. This job is changing a lot than it used to be. I mean, it was very much at one time very paramilitary type organization, but it's gotten a much softer, gentler place in the last 30 years. So you got to have a lot of compassion and understanding. You really have to have a good understanding of the fire service, and I really do think it's important for you to be able to work within the time or the frame of your budget.
Thank you.
Which behaviors do you engage in that exemplify you as a leader?
I'm a really honest person to the point that drives my wife absolutely crazy. But I believe honesty is a huge part of being a firefighter. I don't have a lot of ability to not have honest people that work for me. I think that's the biggest thing is you have to have some honesty. And I'll tell you, I'm like anybody who knows me, I'm 110% all the time. I mean, I'm usually the first one at work, the last one to leave. I love the job, so I do live it. Unfortunately, I should put it down more than I do because I live, I have 2 cell phones and they get a hold of me whenever they need to get a hold of me, whoever it is. So that's one of probably my bigger downfalls, but I'm 110% all the time.
You're going to need that for another answer.
What would your goals be in your first year in this position, and how do you intend to achieve these goals?
Well, to be honest, really don't have the idea that I got to come in and change a lot of anything unless the change needs to be made. I mean, so again, there's a budget, so I can wish in one hand, but probably not going to get everything that you want. So as far as the fire chief goes, you want good people. You want them to be able to respond always when needed and give 100% great customer service. That's, I mean, I would hope that, and I'm hoping, again, that the department feels the same way. Don't think any fire department I'd have to walk in any fire station and not think that that's what their mindset is. So in all honesty, it would be, what's the board looking from the fire chief? I mean, I can come up with what I think, and I think there should be 110 firefighters with 5 engines sitting outside all day long ready to go, but that's not it's not practical, right? And in my city, I'd like to have 20 engines sitting out there and 10 ambulances ready to go all day long. And if you go ahead and open up your checkbook, I'll get you 4 fire engines and 50 guys sitting there, but that's not the real world right now. Everybody's struggling with money, staffing, and those things. So it's gonna really come down to what's the board want from the fire department and what type of, I mean, I know they already transport and they're ALS transporting agency, which is huge for a department out here and being, as small as they are, to be able to transport patients is great, especially being ALS. Most places are looking at just trying to get basic service right now. So that's a huge step. As far as maybe they might need some equipment or make their job a little easier, power loaders or power stretchers, that kind of stuff. Those would be the issues that you'd have to look at and possibly write AFG grants to make those things possible. But again, the AFGs aren't free. You're gonna have to come up with 10%. So those things would not necessarily be, if you got a $500,000 grant for putting new stretchers in your ambulances, if you can't match the 10%, it's not worth doing. So that's the real world.
So you have your experience in grant writing also?
Yep,
from what
so
I'm
I've been
hearing?
involved in it. I've written a handful. Some have been successful, some haven't. I actually, the one that I'm working on right now, I did not write. I'm actually, the chief wrote the grant for the turnout gear, but I'm just going through the process of filling it, so, yep.
What would being an Armada Township fire chief mean to you?
So I grew up in a small town. I spent my whole life in a little town in Livingston County. I had moved to Sterling for a job. That's why we ended up out there. So we were actually on the other side of the state until that happened. I have friends out here, and it would be a great opportunity. I know that I know the past chiefs that have been here. I've been at the county meetings, county chiefs meetings with them for the last 8 years. So I know that it's a great community. They have a lot of small communities still, but they still do a lot of big things. The fair is huge. I think it would be a great opportunity to at least bring. I don't know how much change. Again, I don't know how much change you're able to do, because a lot of change costs money, and that money is not there. There's not a lot of huge steps you can make, but I think it'd be a great place to work.
Thank you.
Is it your plan to stay on as Armada's fire chief, a long-term goal or a short-term goal?
So I'll tell you honestly, I don't have truly any goals other than I have a daughter who is a sophomore in high school, and I have a son who is a sophomore at Penn State, and she wants to go out of state too. So college is not cheap. I will be working for a long time. So, and my wife is retired as well, so I think she expects me to be working for a long time too.
What is your greatest strength?
So I am very much a hard worker. I do love the fire service. I've been involved in it for a long time. I try to get as much done as I possibly can every day. I like to think that I evoked, at least with a great leadership style with the people that I'm over, and they appreciate my work ethic. I've been very honest with all of them, when they come to me and say, hey, can we have this widget? I'll be perfectly honest and say, nope, can't have it. Or, you know, can I have this widget? I'm like, hey, I'll buy one, let's try it. So, I mean, I think that I've done a phenomenal job with just the people that we work with, and we are, like everybody else, very short-staffed there. I don't have all the people that I need, and I think that the group of people I work with have done a phenomenal job keeping our organization afloat with just the small amount of people I have in administrative staff.
What is one of your weaknesses, and what have you done to improve it?
So I am a terrible speller. Thank God for Word and spell check, even though every now and then one gets by me. My handwriting is not great either. So every now and then somebody will come to me and say, what does this mean? I wish I was better at that. Honestly, it's getting worse as I've gotten older. I've been pretty proactive as far as taking my leadership classes, and I just graduated for staff and command, which I unfortunately put off too long. I wish I would have finished or started it earlier, just not thinking that I was going to need it towards where I was at, but it just came to be that I had to go. So, but yeah, those are probably it.
In this department, we do have overlapping runs. Are you prepared to make runs if the need arises?
Yes, yeah, I don't have a problem making runs.
Thank you.
And
When was the last one you made since you've been in administration?
so, believe it or not, unfortunately, we do have a lot of staffing issues as well. So, I mean, we're running 5 ambulances, but sometimes we do a lot of standbys for football games and that kind of stuff. So I work a lot of the football games for both Henry Ford and Stevenson with somebody, usually will come. And I actually had to backboard a football player 2 weeks ago, which is the first time I had to backboard somebody in 8 years. So I was a little rusty, I remember it. But I mean, I've been a paramedic for 30 years, I think now. So yeah, it was back when it was there was a state test back then. It wasn't the national registry that we deal with now. Yeah, I've had to start a couple lines. I do work. I'm rusty, right? So I'm not your first choice, but yeah, it's. But I have been out in the field.
Sean, how have you kept up with the changing needs of today's fire and medical service?
So a lot of classes. I'm very involved with National Fire Academy over at Emmitsburg. Then again, here at the Michigan Fire Chiefs Association, the Macomb County Chiefs Association. I actually sit on a committee for Public Act 207 with the State Fire Marshal. I have a lot of friends who are pretty much higher in the organizations that they work with, so I have a lot of good contacts to reach out to if I ever get stuck on something. I do rely on my staff. I have a super great staff that'll come out with changes that have to be made. I mean, it's pretty crazy how things in the fire service have changed in probably the last 15 years versus when I started, and changes just in fire behavior. It's really just, I think, important. Just education is probably the best thing you can give any of the people that you work with, and any of the firefighters. As far as the more educated they are, the better off they're going to be. And that's so. Again, I'm a big education guy. I think everybody should go to the National Fire Academy. It doesn't cost very much. You just have to pay a food ticket, and they cover up the rest of the cost. There's a ton of classes there. There's a lot of places that still will pay for almost all your classes as far as grants go. I just think that there's a great opportunity for any firefighter. You can go once a year, every year, to the National Fire Academy, and it's going to cost like $300. It's crazy that more people don't take advantage of it.
Very good.
What is it about this position that interests you, and what makes it attractive enough to leave your current position?
So right now, I'm in what's called another drop program. So it's a 5-year drop. I'm in 3 years already. Once you get 5, you have to leave. I cannot stay past my 5th year. So I basically have 2 years' worth of employment left where I'm at, and I have to leave. So as, I've applied for a few jobs as they've come open, just because if something's the right fit for me, I've applied for them. And knowing that I'm probably gonna be working past, past the next 2 years. So as jobs come up, I've been applying for them. This was, it's close to home. People that I know as far as in the service, I know all the chiefs here as far as the surrounding chiefs and that kind of stuff. It would be a great opportunity to work with a smaller department. I think I have a lot of knowledge that I could help them with, but then it would still, again, they're taking 2 runs a day, so it's not like they're not doing anything. They're still probably busy enough to, and they're gonna get busier, because again, the township's gonna continue to grow, so you have to have some sort of plan to look forward and how you're going to go ahead and continue to meet the requirements of your citizens as far as, especially for ALS. Might not all be fire, the fire response, but your ALS response is gonna increase, there's no question about it.
Are you prepared to participate in the third-party assessment testing, MCOs, and authorize a psychological and criminal background check?
Yes, no problem. Yep, I've been through MCO tests, a couple of them, just we use them for our assessments. So I've gone through a couple of them, so not a problem with me.
Do you have any questions for us or for, about Armada Township or the position?
So as a chief, what are you looking for the chief to accomplish in the first 60 days and in a year? What's the downfall that you need as a township board to get fixed?
Cohesiveness, I thought it was great, Now we're looking for a new chief. So cohesiveness would be something that I would look for. Networking was done very well. We want to continue that, but also like the millage, the people supported this, the people said this. But like you said, I mean, just somebody that's going to be able to communicate with the board. Like, this is what you need to do. You need to be budgeting tens of thousands of dollars into capital outlay for the 10-year plan, and just really being very straightforward with the board and just saying, realistically, if this is what you want, this is what we're going to need 10 years down the road. The board needs to be able to understand that so that we are budgeting the resources that are going to be needed.
Yeah, our chief here is, we don't have assistant chief, so
Right.
really it's an administrative chief, budgeting, very budgeted minded, and there is a training sergeant, I forget the title, but in charge of training, but you're making sure that everybody's properly trained, and we are budgeting for the right equipment and capital improvements, stuff like that. I would assume the chief rarely goes on runs, is that fair to say? Or rarely needs to go on runs. Certainly they're on bigger runs, handle the scene kind of a thing, but in my opinion, would be the department's running generally very well now. It's just making sure we're paying bills and there for what the guys need and properly reporting to the board, so there's good communication between, you are the liaison, so we want to know what's going on there, and that's what we're looking for. At least that's what I'm looking for. I don't want to speak for everybody.
And that is going to communicate with the entire board. The board is like 5 people, it's not one person. And so it's like making sure that the whole board is aware of everything that, like, this is what we need, this is why we need it, so that every board member understands that. That way, and even doing it publicly at a meeting so that the taxpayers that are going to be footing the bill, that they understand it. I think that is just really critical, so that they understand, like, we're looking to renovate. People that are paying that bill might be going, why do you need to do that to the house? They don't understand it. I didn't know it until they said, well, you know what, our training equipment, why do you have all that training equipment? Well, we log that training, and somebody that isn't involved in it has no clue. And so there's just a lot that I think needs to be done so that the entire community is aware of why that we need to have these things in place. You know, we're a growing community. We've got that facility that they have right now isn't supporting the male, female, the 24/7 that you need for ALS. So it's things like that, and just, you know, coming to the meetings. That's something I would like to see happen, the last chief did. But I think it's really important, because I think it's very important that the public understands the needs and the why of those needs, so that they are on board.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes that have happened, especially last couple of years with the
Yeah.
state.
Yeah.
Public Act 207 requires, I think it's 12 hours of continuing education for every firefighter, and then another 12 hours for an officer. If you're an instructor, you got to do another 10. So and that's not even your OSHA requirements. My OSHA requires you to have so many right to know bloodborne pathogen classes. So, I mean, I know that I struggle with a full-time department, getting everybody all the necessary training that they have to meet the requirements of the state. It would even be harder for part-pay guys who want to come in on a couple of times a week. I mean, they need, and unfortunately, they need the same requirements. There's no differentiate between part-paid and full-times as far as what the Public Act says. So, and then you have your fire investigators and your fire inspectors. I mean, those all have to have a lot of continuing education. As a fire inspector, I'm required to have 20 a year on top of all those other ones. So there's a ton of continuing education. And a lot of that can be done in-house. It's not all, it has to be farmed out. A lot of it can be done in-house with the right type of instructors. You can make that happen. But it still has to be done, and it has to be logged, so that when either the state fire marshal or anybody from the state comes in and wants to see your training records, they pull them, you have them.
I think one of the other big things that the board is looking for is stability. As you're aware, you know, the last two chiefs, we're talking a short time frame that they were here. We're looking for somebody that's gonna, you know, stabilize the situation and work with the board and be here to achieve their 10-year plan and see it happen, not start a plan and then disappear.
It's understandable. It's tough, right? It's tough to go through chiefs. So, but in all honesty, your last couple of chiefs, I think the last 3 years each, if I could be correct, if I'm correct. But chiefs are, chiefs are usually, their lifespan's about 5, maybe 8. You know, at some of the, I think at some of the smaller departments that I know of, they last longer. Some of the usually 10-year guys, but the bigger departments, yeah, they usually, like my last chief's been 5 to 8 years.
Okay. Do you have any other questions?
Now, so you said December 11th, you're looking to do the,
So we'll definitely be reaching out to every applicant, but of the ones that move on, certainly to go to MCO, we'll certainly talk to have more communication with. But it was December 11th is the actual day of I'll call it the interviews with MCO. But 2 weeks prior to that, there
Got
is
it.
an orientation.
Yep, yeah, so yeah, they're and they do a good job, so.
Yeah,
No, I really, I appreciate the time, having me come in, appreciate the board,
Yeah,
We
thank you for
appreciate
coming in.
with my spiel, so thank you very much,
That's very
appreciate it.
nice. Thank you,
Yeah,
nice
thank you.
meeting you.
All right, nice meeting everybody, good luck. Thank you.
Good luck to you, Sean.
Thanks, thank you. Yep, good luck, this is always a big deal, trying to find a chief, so. Thank you.
All right,
Thank
take
you.
care.
Okay, there's nobody in the audience, so there's no public comment. And I did send out the meeting minutes. I believe I heard from most of you as far as minutes from our last meeting. Does anybody have any concerns with the meeting minutes? Okay.
No.
And we'll submit those to the clerk. Of course, you guys, I failed to remind everybody, to speak into the microphone, but for any audience who's listening after, I do want to clarify, we have not had any discussion, so at least from the committee level, I would say you haven't missed anything. It didn't occur to me when we had the gentleman that sat for an interview, so we probably didn't hear any of his responses, which would be, I would say, is more important. But we're asking the same questions to every applicant, so if you hear them in one recording, we ask the same questions in the next. And then, again, just a brief comment for the matter of record, that at our last set of interviews, I had paused the video. We had no discussion between them, but we paused it, and I think that messed up the live stream. So I think there was a live stream for the first interview, but not for the second two. Unfortunately, it was recorded. Maybe the audio's not that good, but it was recorded. We do have one interview tomorrow. And then just,
So if somebody was interested in hearing that, they would be able to obtain
they
that?
can obtain the video. Sounds like it's hard to hear. Again, you can probably piece enough of it together is my assumption, and we are asking the same questions. I think the most important meeting for anybody who's truly interested is going to be when we discuss the applicants and then, any final. What's that?
When we move them on.
Yeah, so tomorrow, again, we have an interview at 11. Mr. Abraham, you are able to make that?
We'll be here.
Okay. So make sure that the clerk has posted that. I think as far as we talked about the scoring, I'm not sure, so based on how many candidates we're actually ending up interviewing, which right now is going to be 5, potentially I would say tomorrow after the interview, if the committee's comfortable, we may be able to just talk there and decide who, the up to 4 that we'd like to send, if everybody's comfortable. If not, I would say tomorrow we will decide to schedule a meeting to actually discuss the ones we'd like to send on. So just kind of maybe be prepared if they're already standing out to you, and after that one you know which ones you'd like to send. We may just be prepared to have a discussion in case everybody else is, I would say. So otherwise that's it.
If we could wrap it all up tomorrow in the interest of moving forward for the township to get this taken care of. Do need leadership and a chief in place
Sure.
for the new year.
Yeah, I think that's still a possibility based on the dates we have. So with that, we'll call the meeting we'll adjourn at 1:46. Thank you, guys.